I thought I knew my wife. I thought we'd built something real. But on a cold Tuesday evening, sitting across from her German boss at an upscale restaurant, I heard her speak words in a language she didn't think I understood. Words that shattered everything. "He'll take care of your kids thinking they're his." She smiled when she said it. And in that moment, I realized the woman I loved had been playing a game I didn't even know existed. But I didn't react. I didn't flinch. I just smiled back. And that's when my real plan began. My name is Julian. I'm 34 years old, and up until 6 months ago, I believed I was living the life I'd always wanted. Sarah and I had been married for 3 years, together for 5. We met at a conference in Boston where I was presenting research on sustainable architecture, and she was there representing a tech startup that was just beginning to make waves in the European market. She was brilliant, confident, the kind of woman who could walk into any room and own it without saying a word. I fell hard, maybe too hard. Sarah was American, but she'd spent her teenage years in Munich when her father was stationed there with the military. She spoke fluent German, which always impressed people at parties. I'd taken 2 years of high school Spanish and barely remembered how to order a beer. Her multilingual abilities felt exotic to me, sophisticated. I loved listening to her take calls with her international clients, switching between English and German like she was changing radio stations. We got married in a small ceremony in Vermont. Just family and close friends. Sarah wanted it intimate, and I agreed. Looking back now, I wonder if that was the first sign. Keeping things small, keeping circles separate. But at the time, it felt romantic. We honeymooned in Iceland, spent 2 weeks hiking glaciers and soaking in hot springs, talking about our future. Kids, maybe 2. A house with a yard, growing old together. She got promoted about 8 months into our marriage. Senior account manager at her firm, which meant more travel, longer hours, and a new boss. Klaus Reinhardt. He flew in from the Munich office to oversee the American expansion. Mid-40s, impeccably dressed, the kind of European businessman who made you feel underdressed even when you were wearing your best suit. Sarah talked about him constantly. Klaus thinks this, Klaus suggested that, Klaus wants to restructure the client acquisition model. I wasn't jealous. Not at first. I trusted her. She'd never given me a reason not to. And Klaus was married, had kids. Sarah showed me pictures from office events. Klaus with his wife, an elegant blonde woman named Petra. 2 kids, both young, maybe 6 and 8 years old. It all seemed normal. But then small things started changing. Sarah became protective of her phone. Not in an obvious way, but in a way I noticed because I'd known her habits for years. She used to leave it on the kitchen counter when she showered, face up, notifications visible. Suddenly, it was always face down, always with her. She started password protecting it when she'd never bothered before. The travel increased too. Weekend trips to meet clients. A conference in Atlanta that turned into 4 days. A training session in Philadelphia that Klaus also attended. She'd come home exhausted, distant, needing space. I gave it to her. I thought I was being supportive. One night, about 4 months ago, I woke up at 2 in the morning and she wasn't in bed. I found her in the living room, typing furiously on her laptop, her face illuminated by the blue glow of the screen. When I asked if she was okay, she jumped like I'd fired a gun. "Just work stuff," she said, closing the laptop quickly. "Klaus needs these projections by morning." "It's 2 a.m., Sarah." "I know. I'm almost done. Go back to bed." I didn't. I sat with her, brought her tea, tried to rub her shoulders. She shrugged me off, said she needed to concentrate. So I went back to bed alone, staring at the ceiling, feeling something cold settling in my chest. A feeling I couldn't name yet. Didn't want to name. The sex tapered off. We went from a couple of times a week to once, then every 2 weeks, then whenever she wasn't too tired, which was almost never. When we did make love, she seemed somewhere else, going through motions. I tried talking to her about it, asked if something was wrong, if I'd done something. She blamed stress, blamed work, blamed Klaus for demanding too much. Always Klaus. Then came the dinner invitation. Sarah came home one Thursday, actually excited for the first time in weeks. Klaus wanted to take us out to dinner. A nice place downtown, his treat. A thank you for her dedication and for me being so understanding about her schedule. She said Klaus specifically wanted to meet me properly, that he felt bad about taking up so much of her time. I should have been pleased. Instead, I felt uneasy. But I agreed. I wanted to meet this man who'd become such a massive part of my wife's life. Wanted to see them together. See if my paranoia was just that. Paranoia. We met at Luciano's, an Italian place with white tablecloths and wine lists thicker than phone books. Klaus was already there, standing when we arrived, his handshake firm, his English perfect but accented. He was handsome, I'll admit that. Tall, fit for his age, graying at the temples in that distinguished way some men manage. "Julian, finally we meet properly," he said. "Sarah speaks of you often." We sat, ordered wine. Klaus asked about my work, seemed genuinely interested in sustainable architecture, asked intelligent questions about carbon-neutral materials and urban planning. I started to relax. Maybe I'd been wrong. Maybe this was exactly what it appeared to be, a boss being kind, inclusive. Sarah was radiant that night, laughing, touching Klaus's arm when he made jokes, but touching mine too. Splitting her attention, playing the perfect wife and the perfect employee simultaneously. I watched her perform, because that's what it was, a performance, and I felt that cold thing in my chest spreading. Dinner arrived. We talked about travel, about Germany, about Klaus's family. He showed us pictures of his kids on his phone. Petra wasn't with him. She'd stayed in Munich with the children because of school schedules. He missed them terribly, he said. Being away for months at a time was the hardest part of this assignment. But worth it, he said, looking at Sarah. We are building something important here. She smiled at him, a smile I recognized, but it wasn't for me. It was the smile she used to give me in those early days, when everything was new and exciting and full of possibility. That's when Klaus switched to German. Just casually, mid-conversation, saying something to Sarah about a client meeting. She responded in German, and they went back and forth for maybe 30 seconds. I sat there, smiling politely, pretending I didn't understand. Because I didn't. Not really. Except, here's something Sarah never knew about me. About 6 months before that dinner, I'd started learning German. Not fluently, not even conversationally, but enough. I downloaded an app, started doing lessons during my commute, during lunch breaks. Why? Honestly, I wanted to surprise her. Maybe plan a trip to Germany, be able to navigate a little, impress her with my effort. It was supposed to be romantic, a gift. I'd gotten decent with basic phrases, could recognize common words, understand simple sentences if people spoke slowly. And Klaus, when he spoke German with Sarah, spoke clearly, precisely. Before you subscribe or move on, I just want to say thank you for listening this far. These stories, they matter, because they're real, they're human, and they remind us we're not alone in our struggles. If you're finding value in this, a like or subscribe really does help these stories reach people who might need them. But no pressure, truly. Let me get back to what happened next. They were discussing something about work, or so I thought, until I caught a phrase. Deine Kinder. Your children. Klaus's children. Then Sarah said something, speaking a bit faster, and I caught maybe half of it. Something about, wird sich kümmern. He will take care. Then, denken sie sind seine. Thinking they are his. My blood went cold. I kept my face neutral, kept nodding, kept smiling like an idiot who didn't speak the language. Sarah glanced at me, checking, making sure I was still oblivious. I was supposed to be. I gave her a warm smile, sipped my wine. Klaus laughed at whatever she'd said, a low, knowing chuckle. Then he switched back to English, smoothly, talking about dessert options. Sarah joined in, animated, suggesting the tiramisu. I sat there, my mind racing, trying to process what I thought I'd heard. Had I heard correctly? Was my German good enough to trust what I thought they'd said? Or was I so paranoid, so primed to find betrayal that I was twisting innocent words into evidence? I excused myself to the bathroom, stood at the sink gripping the cold porcelain, staring at my reflection. My hands were shaking. I pulled out my phone, typed the phrases into a translation app just to be sure. Your children. He will take care of them. Thinking they are his. The bathroom walls seemed to close in. I splashed water on my face, forced myself to breathe. Think, Julian. Think clearly. What exactly did this mean? The obvious interpretation, the one that made my stomach turn, was that Sarah was pregnant with Klaus's children. Twins, maybe. Or planning to be pregnant. And I would raise them, thinking they were mine. But we hadn't been intimate enough recently for her to be pregnant. Unless she was planning something. Unless this was about the future. Or maybe I'd misunderstood entirely. Maybe it was about something else, work-related, metaphorical. Maybe my German was worse than I thought, and I'd cobbled together a nightmare from innocent words. I wanted to believe that. God, I wanted to believe that. I went back to the table. Sarah asked if I was feeling okay. I looked pale. I blamed the wine, said I wasn't used to drinking on a weeknight. Klaus poured me water, concerned, considerate. Sarah rubbed my back, the perfect loving wife. We finished dinner. Klaus picked up the check, insisted, thanked us both for a wonderful evening. He and Sarah exchanged a look as we left, brief, but I saw it. A look of shared secrets. In the car, Sarah was quiet. I drove, keeping my eyes on the road, not trusting myself to look at her. That was nice, she finally said. I'm glad you two finally met properly. He seems like a good guy. He is. He's been really supportive. With everything. What everything? I asked, keeping my tone casual. She hesitated. Just work stuff, the pressure, you know. I knew she was lying. I could hear it in her voice. The careful way she chose words. But I didn't push. Not yet. That night after she fell asleep, I lay awake, staring at the dark ceiling, listening to her breathe. The woman next to me was a stranger. Or maybe she always had been and I'd just been too in love to notice. I couldn't confront her. Not yet. If I was wrong, if I'd misunderstood, I'd destroy our marriage over paranoia. But if I was right, I needed proof. Real proof. Not just fragments of overheard German and suspicions. So I started watching. Really watching. The next morning, I told Sarah I needed to work from home for a few days. Some projects that required concentration. She seemed relieved, actually, kissed me goodbye before heading to the office. The moment she left, I went through our home office. Her laptop was password protected, and I didn't know the code. Her filing cabinet was locked. Everything important was secured. I checked our shared calendar. She had a doctor's appointment that afternoon, just listed as appointment, no details. She'd had a few of those recently, always vague, always private. I did something I'm not proud of. I called her doctor's office, pretended to be confirming Sarah's appointment. The receptionist said there was no appointment scheduled for Sarah that day, not that afternoon, not that week. She'd lied about something as mundane as a doctor's appointment. I started documenting everything. Created a private note on my phone, password protected, recording dates, times, inconsistencies, her late nights, her unexplained absences, the time she said she was at a client dinner but posted nothing on social media when she usually documented everything, The weekend trip to Atlanta where she'd turned off her location sharing to save battery. I became someone I didn't recognize, suspicious, calculating. But I stayed calm around her, played the supportive, oblivious husband, made her favorite meals, asked about her day, kissed her goodnight, all while my heart was turning to stone. 2 weeks after the dinner with Klaus, Sarah told me she needed to take a trip to Munich. Klaus wanted her to spend a week at the headquarters, learning their systems, meeting the European team. It was a huge opportunity, a sign they were grooming her for bigger things. "When?" I asked. "Next month, October. I know it's sudden, but of course you should go. This is your career." She looked almost disappointed that I didn't object, like she wanted me to fight, to demand she stay. But I smiled and said I'd miss her and she should make the most of it. After she went to bed, I booked my own trip to Munich. Different dates, just a weekend, ostensibly to visit an old college friend who'd moved there for work. I didn't tell Sarah. Let her think I'd be home waiting patiently. I spent the next 3 weeks improving my German, intensive lessons, every spare moment. I wasn't fluent, but I was getting better, understanding more. I told Sarah I'd taken up meditation podcasts during my commute, needed headphones for focus. She didn't question it. I also hired a private investigator. I know how that sounds, but I needed to know. I gave him Klaus's name, Sarah's schedule, asked him to document their interactions. "Professional only," I said. I just needed to know if there was anything beyond work. The photos came back a week later. Sarah and Klaus at a hotel bar, close, laughing. Sarah and Klaus entering a boutique hotel at 3 in the afternoon, emerging 2 hours later. Sarah and Klaus at a park, sitting on a bench, his arm around her shoulders. The investigator included timestamps, locations, everything documented clinically. Professional. There was one video, short, just 15 seconds. Sarah and Klaus in a parking garage, and he kissed her. Not a friendly peck, a real kiss, and she kissed him back. I watched that video exactly once, then I transferred everything to an encrypted cloud storage and deleted it from my phone. I couldn't keep looking at it, couldn't keep torturing myself. I knew enough, but I still didn't confront her. I needed to understand the full scope. The comment about children, about me raising them thinking they were mine, that was the piece that didn't fit. Sarah couldn't be pregnant. Our timeline didn't work. So what were they planning? I started paying closer attention to her cycle. We'd been trying for kids about a year ago, before her promotion, so I knew her patterns. She was regular, predictable, and according to my tracking, she should have gotten her period 2 weeks ago, but I'd seen no evidence of it. No tampons in the bathroom trash, no mood swings, nothing. Then I found the birth control pills, hidden in her makeup bag, buried under compacts and brushes, a brand I didn't recognize. I took a photo of the label, researched it later. They were from Germany. Prescription medication, not available in the US. She was on birth control. Despite us supposedly trying for a baby 8 months ago, despite her telling me she'd gone off the pill, she was still taking it. Or taking it again. Medication from Germany, probably prescribed during one of her trips. The pieces started forming a picture, and I didn't like what I saw. Klaus was married, had kids in Germany, couldn't leave his family without destroying his life. Sarah was his American escape, his affair, but it couldn't be permanent. Not yet. But if she got pregnant, if she had his children and presented them as mine, then Klaus could have his family in Germany and his second family here. Secret children he could visit under the guise of business trips. And I would be the fool raising them, loving them, never knowing. Except she was still on birth control, so they hadn't executed the plan yet. They were still preparing, still planning, which meant I still had time. I canceled my Munich trip, changed strategies. Instead, I started being the perfect husband, attentive, romantic, present. I suggested date nights, weekend getaways, all the things we used to do. Sarah seemed confused at first, then pleased. She softened toward me, started smiling more, laughing at my jokes. Klaus noticed the change, too. Sarah mentioned he'd commented on her improved mood, asked if things were better at home. She'd told him yes, that we were working on our marriage. I'd stepped up. Good. Let them think I was clueless and recommitted. Let them think their plan was safe. I made love to my wife, knowing she was betraying me, knowing every touch was a lie. But I needed her to believe everything was normal, better than normal. I needed her guard down. One night after sex, lying in bed, I asked her about kids again, casual, tender. Said I'd been thinking about it, about starting a family. She went very still beside me. I thought we'd decided to wait, she said carefully. With my career taking off, I know. But watching you succeed, it makes me want this even more. You'd be an amazing mother. She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, let's talk about it after my Munich trip. I need to focus on that first. But I've been thinking about it too. I'll bet she had. I kissed her forehead, held her close, and felt absolutely nothing. The Munich trip was 3 weeks away. I had 3 weeks to decide what to do. Confront her before she left, follow her there, blow everything up, or stay silent. I chose option 4, something they'd never expect. I called Klaus's wife, Petra. I found her on social media, sent her a message in English, introduced myself as Sarah's husband, said I'd met Klaus at dinner and wanted to reach out, wife-to-wife connection. Perhaps we could all get together sometime when she visited the States. She responded within a day, friendly, warm, said she'd love to meet me, that Klaus had mentioned what a lovely evening he'd had with us. We started messaging occasionally, just friendly chatter. I asked about her kids, their schools, life in Munich. She shared photos, stories, complained lightly about Klaus being away so much, how hard it was managing everything alone. I was building a relationship with her, insurance. Because if this all went the way I thought it would, Petra would need to know the truth. And hearing it from Sarah's betrayed husband would carry weight. But I didn't tell her anything yet. Just built trust, built connection, became her friend. Sarah's behavior shifted as the trip approached. She was anxious, distracted, started picking fights over nothing, like she was trying to create distance, justification. I didn't take the bait. Stayed calm, stayed loving. It seemed to frustrate her. 3 days before her flight, I did something else. I scheduled my own doctor's appointment, got a full workup, including fertility testing. The results came back clean, healthy, fully capable of having children. I documented everything, stored it with the rest of my evidence, because if they tried to claim I was infertile, that Sarah had to go elsewhere to have children, I'd have proof that was a lie. The night before she left for Munich, we had dinner at home. I cooked her favorite meal, opened a nice bottle of wine. We talked about nothing important, surface-level pleasantries. She seemed sad, almost regretful. I wondered if she was having second thoughts, if some part of her knew this was wrong. "I'll miss you," she said, and I think she meant it. "I'll miss you too, but this is important for your career. I'm proud of you." She cried a little. Actual tears. Said she didn't deserve me, that I was too good to her. I held her while she cried, stroked her hair, and thought about how much easier this would be if I could hate her completely. But I couldn't. Part of me still loved the woman she'd been, or the woman I'd thought she was. She left the next morning. I drove her to the airport, kissed her goodbye, told her to have a safe flight. Watched her walk through security, rolling her small suitcase, not looking back. Then I went home and implemented the final phase of my plan. I'd been in contact with a lawyer for 2 weeks, quietly preparing. We'd discussed options, strategies. I'd shown him everything, the photos, the timeline, the birth control evidence. He'd been impressed with my documentation, said it would make things cleaner. I didn't file for divorce yet. That wasn't the move. Instead, I changed the locks on our house. Legally questionable, the lawyer admitted, but defensible given the circumstances. I also changed passwords on all our shared accounts, secured our finances, made sure she couldn't drain anything without my knowledge. Then I sent a message to Petra, the real message, the one I'd been building toward. I told her everything, sent her the photos, the timeline, the evidence, told her about the dinner conversation, what I'd overheard, what I suspected they were planning. I was gentle but honest, apologetic even for being the one to shatter her world. She didn't respond immediately. I imagined her in Munich, reading this message, her perfect life crumbling. Part of me felt guilty, but she deserved to know, just like I had deserved to know. 6 hours later, she replied. One word. Danke. Thank you. Then she sent me a screenshot of a message she'd sent to Klaus. It was in German, but I understood enough. She was done. The marriage was over. He had until she returned from her sister's house to be gone from their home. Klaus would be getting that message right about the time Sarah landed in Munich. Perfect timing. I waited. Didn't contact Sarah, didn't check in, let her have her trip, her time with Klaus, whatever they'd planned. She texted me a few times, saying she'd arrived safely, that the office was impressive, that she missed me. I responded with simple, supportive messages. Everything normal. 4 days into her trip, my phone rang at 2 a.m. Sarah crying hysterically, barely coherent. Klaus had called her, told her his wife knew everything, that their marriage was ending, that his life was destroyed. He blamed Sarah, said she must have told someone, must have been careless. She swore she hadn't, that she'd been so careful. I let her cry, offered comfort, asked what she was talking about, played confused, concerned. The loving husband woken in the middle of the night by his distraught wife. I can't explain over the phone, she sobbed. I'm coming home early. I need to see you. I need to explain everything. Okay, I said softly. I'm here. Whatever you need. She arrived home 2 days later, exhausted, devastated. I picked her up from the airport. She barely looked at me, just stared out the window, silent. When we got to the house, she tried her key. It didn't work. She tried again, confused, then looked at me. I changed the locks, I said calmly. The color drained from her face. Julian, I know everything, Sarah. I've known for a while. I heard you at dinner, understood what you said to Klaus. I've seen the photos, the evidence. I know about the birth control from Germany, about the plan to pass his children off as mine. She started to speak, to deny, but I held up my hand. Don't, just don't. I'm tired of the lies. I told Petra everything. She deserved to know what her husband was doing, just like I deserved to know what my wife was doing. Sarah's legs seemed to give out. She sat down on the front steps, buried her face in her hands. You don't understand. It's not what you think. Then explain it to me. Make me understand how betraying me, planning to trick me into raising another man's children, how any of that is something other than what I think. She couldn't. She tried. Started several sentences, but nothing came out that made sense. Just fragments, excuses, justifications that crumbled under their own weight. Finally, she looked up at me, mascara running, and asked the only question that mattered. Do you still love me? I thought about it. Really thought about it. Did I love this woman? The one sitting on my porch, destroyed by consequences of her own choices? Or did I love the idea of her, the version that had never really existed? I don't know, I said honestly. I don't know if I ever really knew you well enough to love you, but I know I don't trust you. And without trust, what's the point? She nodded slowly, accepting it. What happens now? Now you find somewhere else to stay. I'll give you time to get your things, but you can't live here anymore. My lawyer will be in touch about divorce proceedings. It'll be amicable if you want it to be, or it'll be ugly. Your choice. I never meant to hurt you, she whispered. But you did. Intentionally, repeatedly. while smiling to my face. So your intentions don't really matter anymore. I let her into the house, supervised while she packed some bags. She moved like a ghost, mechanically folding clothes, gathering toiletries. When she was done, I called her an Uber, couldn't bear to drive her anywhere myself. Before she left, she turned to me one last time. For what it's worth, I did love you. In the beginning, before everything got complicated. That's worth exactly nothing, I said, because love isn't just a feeling. It's a choice, and you chose Klaus. She left. I watched the Uber drive away, then went inside and sat in the silence of my house. Our house. My house now. I didn't cry, didn't feel relief or satisfaction or vindication. Just empty, hollow, like I'd excised a tumor, and now there was just a space where something used to be. Klaus lost his job a week later. The company couldn't have a senior executive involved in that kind of scandal, so they terminated him, sent him back to Germany in disgrace. I heard through mutual connections that Petra took him back eventually, for the kids' sake. But the marriage was functionally over. They were roommates, co-parents, nothing more. Sarah moved to California. Got a job with a startup out there. Smaller company, lower position. She tried to call me a few times in those first months, but I never answered. There was nothing left to say. The divorce was finalized 4 months after that night on the porch. Clean, simple. She didn't fight for anything, didn't contest. Maybe guilt, maybe exhaustion, maybe both. I didn't care. I sold the house 6 months later. Too many ghosts, too many memories of a life that had never been real. Moved to a different part of the city, started over, made new friends, pursued hobbies I'd neglected, threw myself into work. People ask if I'm dating again. Not yet. Maybe someday. But I'm not in a hurry. I learned something from Sarah, from that whole disaster. I learned that trust isn't given. It's earned, slowly, over time, through consistent action. I learned that love without honesty is just elaborate pretending. I learned that sometimes the person sleeping next to you is a complete stranger, and you never know until it's too late. But I also learned that I'm stronger than I thought, that I could survive betrayal, could make hard choices, could walk away from something poisonous even when part of me still wanted to hold on. I learned that patience and planning beat emotional reactions every time. I learned that sometimes justice isn't loud or dramatic, it's just quiet consequences finally catching up. I still think about that night at Luciano's sometimes, the moment I heard those words in German and my whole world shifted. The choice I made to stay calm, to investigate, to build my case instead of exploding. If I'd confronted her that night, she would have lied, denied, gaslit me into questioning my own ears. I'd have had nothing but suspicions. Instead, I had everything. And when the time came, I used it. I don't recommend my approach to everyone. Living with that knowledge, pretending for weeks, it nearly broke me. Some people need immediate confrontation, need the catharsis of anger. I respect that. But for me, the slow approach was right. It gave me control, gave me power in a situation designed to make me powerless. Do I regret anything? Sometimes I regret marrying her in the first place, not seeing the signs earlier. But mostly, I regret trusting so completely, so blindly. I thought trust was about faith, about choosing to believe. Now I know trust is about evidence, about someone proving over and over that they're worthy of it. I'm rebuilding that now, with friends, with family, with myself, learning to trust my instincts again, to pay attention when something feels wrong. To not ignore red flags just because I want the story to have a happy ending. And maybe that's the real ending here. Not the divorce, not the destroyed careers and marriages, not the dramatic confrontation. The real ending is me. Sitting here, telling you this story, finally able to process it all without that cold, hollow feeling in my chest. I survived betrayal. I came out the other side. I'm not the same person I was before, and that's okay. Maybe I'm better now. More careful, yes, but also more honest with myself. More willing to walk away from things that hurt me. More aware of my own worth. If you've made it this far, if this story resonated with you in any way, I appreciate you listening. These experiences, painful as they connect us. Remind us we're not alone in our struggles. If you found value in this, if it helped you process something in your own life, then maybe consider leaving a like or subscribing. But only if it feels right to you. No pressure. Sometimes the best thing we can do is just acknowledge each other's pain, witness each other's stories, and keep moving forward. That's what I'm doing. Moving forward. One day at a time. And you know what? Some days are actually pretty good.